Hi everyone, Anthony Fantano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Slowdive album, Slowdive. A legendary dream pop outfit hailing from the UK, Slowdive, they are back with a new album, their first in over 20 years, following up 1995's Pygmalion, which was easily the most eerie, experimental, and subtle of the three albums the band had released back in the 90s. Their debut, Just for a Day, which I personally think is a little underrated, is so powerfully sad and depressing. While this album may not live up to the shoegaze ideals that the band's subsequent records would, I still think that the emotions of this record are really potent. Most of the tracks had this smooth, glistening Sub-Zero sound that was chillingly beautiful. I really liked the subtle nods to jangle pop and post-punk on this record too. But for most fans, Slowdive's sophomore record, Souvlaki, is the band's masterpiece. And it's easy to see why. I mean, the sounds on this record are dense, they're blissful, they're enveloping. The instrumentation is far more vivid than it was on their debut, and the overbearing depression that sort of plagued that album is swapped out for just this supremely heavenly vibe. Also, it's easily one of the most creatively produced albums in the shoegaze and dream pop genres. While it may not be as wildly experimental in its techniques as Loveless, the way the band was able to balance harmony with the subtle chaos of the smudgy sounds and vocals on this record, the sound bleed, gave this thing a lot of character. Not to say there was nothing unorthodox about this album. I mean, the Souvlaki space station with its dubby, repetitive echoes all over the track is really an oddball in the track listing, and pretty exciting too. While skeletal ballads in the track list like Dagger found incredible power and simplicity. But I'm not here to explain or rank or just go that deeply into the band's back catalog. I'm here to talk about this new record over here. Brand new album. It's self-titled, as if this thing is some kind of manifesto or defining moment in the band's career. This is the self-titled album. This is the representation of Slowdive. Or maybe it was just lack thereof a better title, I don't know. So it's been decades since Slowdive has released an album, and I don't think I need to explain to you how hit or miss comeback albums can be, especially when you're talking about this length of time. And we're also talking about dream pop here, a genre that has evolved by leaps and bounds since Slowdive's initial releases. So coming into this new record, would Slowdive just deliver us their old sound? Would they try to revamp it and modernize it a little bit? Would they bring something entirely new and different and unexpected to the table instead? All directions with potential benefits, but also huge pitfalls. But honestly, on this new record over here, it sounds like Slowdive did their best to sort of stick to their guns on this one, with the very linear, sort of hypnotic song structures that grab onto a vibe and really hold onto it until the songs finish. Soft layers of guitars that are given at least a couple of coats of reverb. And the singing, of course, is very even, very calm. The usual elements of Slowdive's execution are here, but there's one thing missing, and that's the sound. And what is Slowdive if not a sound? Because their first three albums weren't winning listeners over with vocal acrobatics or really noodly, technically intricate guitar solos. And it's not that I'm coming into this review or this listening session expecting Slowdive unreasonably to come back with the same exact sound that they delivered unto us in the 90s. Even if the way that they play their instruments on this new self-titled record kind of demands it, especially with how naked and cold the vocals feel, because they really could use that thin layer of gauzy, pillowy sound as just a bit of a barrier. But it's more than just the vocals on this record. It's that the top to bottom transition Slowdive has made into the digital age is not pretty. The soft, smooth, round, dreamy aesthetic of the band's earlier releases has been completely removed, scrubbed clean. I'd actually say that the removal, comparing this to their last record, is pretty violent, like performing a C-section with a chainsaw. What we have now on this new record over here is really sanitary. It's really crisp. It's a very clean, squeaky sound that reads like some run-of-the-mill third-wave post-rock, but without the heavy crescendos. There's no sound bleed, there's no bliss, there's no beautiful little blemishes and smudges. The kaleidoscopic rush, the heavenly wall of sound, it's not here. All we have is an occasionally shrill, occasionally tinny and very, very thin palette of sound that feels like warmed over explosions in the sky leftovers. I'm hit with this vibe instantly on the introduction of tracks like Sugar for the Pill and Slow-Mo and No Longer Making Time. I was sick of hearing these anemic, twangy, reverb-drenched guitars 10 years ago, and Slowdive is doing little to nothing to make them palatable or interesting again. Now, I do think the driving, aggressive, post-punkier tracks on the record lend themselves better to the production and the mix on this album. Starr Roving, in my opinion, is easily the best song on the album by a mile. The burning, anthemic lead guitar melodies on the song match very well with the propulsive drums and bass line. The way the vocal harmonies on this track melt together just a little bit is nice too. But it's not like we haven't already heard sounds similar to this from bands like Beach Fossils or Dive. Still though, this is a spot on the album where I feel like the production, the instrumentation, everything about the song gels, which is just so not the case on the song Everyone Knows, which is this kind of breezy, swaying piece of jangle pop, where the vocals come off really calming and really serene, but the ultra bright, roaring guitars all over the song have the opposite effect. It's like trying to mix oil and water, or that this is what passes as a dreamy sound for a generation of music listeners who came of age in the midst of the loudness war. I really struggled to find a place where this song sounded good. Either on headphones it was a little muddy, or on laptop speakers, or like a Bluetooth speaker. The guitars were way too loud, way overpowering, super sharp, super shrill. And then on my big stereo, it's like I could hear that when they were producing the track, they were trying to balance those ultra loud and ultra bright guitars out with a lot of bass, to the point where the bass signal has just got this really fat, ugly... It's really hideous. It's easily the worst mixed song on the entire record. There are tracks on this album that are more layered and are played more aggressively but somehow sound less noisy. And don't even get me started on the band's awkward attempt at recreating shoegaze on the song Go Get It. I've never identified more with a singer calling out, "I want to feel it," in a song, because really I do. I want to feel it. I really want to feel anything. I'm going to stop here. I really could go into every minor sonic detail of this record that I don't like, because there are that many things about this album sound-wise that I don't like. And, you know, I don't think it's that you can't make a great dream pop or a great shoegaze album in the current year. It feels like the band took a modern approach to the recording process of this record, but didn't use those tools to adequately find or discover the sound and the aesthetic that would truly complement their playing style, or would give listeners some kind of modernized or updated version of the sound that fans have come to know and love. Instead, it's like Slowdive settled on super plain reverbs, boring distortions, compartmentalized mixes with sounds that are more afraid of physical contact than 7th graders slow dancing at the summer social. Honestly, I don't really know what it is that has made the sound fall so short of what I would feel is even a halfway sufficient replacement for what I would typically find on a Slowdive album. But just clueless outsider's guess here, it seems like the band has underestimated a bit the significance of the way that they used to produce things, used to record things on their older albums, because sort of abandoning that clearly has resulted in a very lackluster sound on this new record over here. I'm feeling a light to decent 4 on this thing. Transition. Have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best. You're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe. And please don't cry. Just leave an angry comment in the comments if you're angry. Okay? Slowdive, self-titled, videos next to my head that you should check out. Hit that subscription button and check out the official website too. Okay? I'll catch you guys in the next video. Forever.